Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio. Me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And how would you guys like to have I'm trying to come up with a phrase for this. Let's call it, how would you like to have a shortcut to magnificence? How would you like to have that? We have a guest this week that's going to help us do that. We've got a powerhouse on the mic, the one and only Mr. Magnificent himself, Chris Livezey. He spent over 20 years diving into the deeper mechanics of the mind, distilled his discoveries into his book, The Shortcut of Magnificence. See how I did that? And built a program designed to reprogram your subconscious to unlock business success. If you're ready to transform your mindset, your habits, and your revenue trajectory, you do not want to miss this. Chris, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, excited to have you on. I know we actually got you booked here recently, and usually we're booked out a few months, and we were doing some makeup shows and this and that. So your timing was impeccable. We're able to get you in here relatively quick. Before we start diving into this, I got a ton of questions. Before we start diving into this, though, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneur journey. I mentioned some of it during the intro here, but give us a little bit about your background, if you would, Chris.
All right. Well, this all kind of started for me back in 1999. I was 16 years old. I was a freshman in middle school, and I was headed down the wrong path. I was given a book by my father that was written by Ziglar called See You at the Top. There was a story in that book that really resonated with me and got me to start believing in myself, which caused me to transform my life completely around to where I went from a troubled teen to making the honor rolls, varsity baseball team, wrestling team. And that's actually when I gave my first motivational speech to the entire school, where I set the goal that by age 30, I wanted to become a motivational speaker. So then I started diving into more and more personal development books. During high school, I picked up the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that opened my mind up to real estate and how the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. Halfway through my senior year, I felt like I was getting more education out of the books I was reading on my own than what I was getting in the mainstream education curriculum. So I decided to drop out of high school to pursue my entrepreneurial path, knowing that I always had to be 3 steps ahead of everybody else. So I dropped out, started a business at 21, and then started getting into real estate around 23. And by 25, I'd already accumulated a number of rental properties and doing a bunch of flips, and completely transformed my life around by understanding the power of the human mind.
Interesting stuff. So I love that book. As a matter of fact, I read that book. Gosh, I can't remember how many years ago. The Zig Ziglar book, and someone told me, another person that I was talking with, I mentioned the book. I said, "Man, if you don't have this book, you got to get it. It's fantastic." And he said, "I'll do you one up." And I thought, "Oh, okay, here we go. Tell me another book." He goes, "No, get the audio version of the book, because it's Zig himself." Going through the book, right? So, and he has his speaking style, and I mean, he can get you revved up to, go mow the lawn, or do some, monotonous task you might not want to do. He just has a way about that. And so not only the content of the book, and then having him, narrating it. So I listen to that book, at least once a year. I listen to that book, the audio version of it. I love it. So talk to us a little bit about Mr. Magnificent here. So what's the story behind that name? How did it kind of start with all that? Get started with Mr. Magnificent when you were kind of going through all this?
Well, so what happened is I wanted to become a speaker by the time I was 30. And then when I, started seeing the success in real estate, considering my background, I didn't have any money really to get started. I didn't have any formal education, but yet I started seeing all these things happen. Then in 2011, I was introduced to, I was introduced to Bob Proctor around 2007, but I started getting trained by Proctor in 2011. I entered into a coaching program with him for a year long. And that was really the defining period that helped me realize how our mind works. See, up until that point, from 1999 to 2011, I just figured I had a magic wand and anything I waved it at, I was able to make happen. But I didn't understand what was going on in my mind until I got the coaching through Bob Proctor, where he showed me the first image of the human mind. Then it all clicked. And that's when I realized, hey, now I know what I did. I can teach this to anyone in the world on how to change their life from where they are to where they really wanted to be.
Yeah, good stuff. And by the way, Bob Proctor, huge fan of his as well. Rest in peace. But
Yeah.
I think it was during actually COVID. So I'd heard of The Secret, of course, many times before. A couple of friends had mentioned it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I never really got around to it. And then during COVID, I was putzing around on Netflix and the movie was on Netflix. And I'm like, oh, I'll watch this movie. And I watched it one evening, late in the evening. Wife and kids were in bed. I got up the next day. During lunch, I watched it again. I think the movie's like an hour and a half. And then that evening, I watched it a third time. So in 24 hours, I watched the movie three times because I became such a big fan of it. And then, of course, I bought the book and I've got the daily calendar reminders of The Secret and things like that. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I want to mention, so I know in your book, you talk about the shortcut to magnificence. You outlined basically 13 principles. Which one do you consider sort of a gateway principle, or is there one that, one people really need to master one before everything else starts to fall into place?
So I would say, the shortcut to magnificence is like baking a cake. You got to have the entire recipe to get the real taste of the cake. But a lot of them are the follow-up to the first and second principle. So I would say the first thing a person needs to know is how their mind works and the difference between their mind and brain and the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And that once you understand this, you'll realize that we have the ability to program our subconscious mind to live any type of life that we want. And whether you don't know it, you are constantly being controlled by the outside world, which is conditioning our subconscious mind. I tell people our environmental heredity is more important than genetic heredity.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in that. And before, to be honest with you, 10 years ago, I thought it was kind of bunk. And then, I heard the whole Jim Rohn, right? The 5 people you hang out with, you're the product of. And I really started to think about it at first I didn't do it for me. To be honest with you, I was kind of being, I hate to say it, but kind of judgmental because I'm thinking of some people, family members, friends, and their lives had taken kind of a downward turn. And I'm thinking, and then I started thinking about the people they hang out with and their environment, like you're talking about. And I'm like, man, so, if you hang out with the people who are heavy drinkers, you're going to be a heavy drinker, right? Because it normalizes that behavior, right? So, I'm hanging out with all my buddies and, the closest people to me. And, so-and-so drinks, a 12-pack a night. I only drink a 6-pack. It's not that bad. Well, you're not supposed to drink 6-pack every night, at least as far as I'm concerned. So nothing wrong with having some pops now and again. But I think that environment, and I don't want to take words out of your mouth, but, what I saw was, and then I started to realize it for myself, some of the people. So I really started I didn't eliminate people necessarily, but on social media, I cut back on some of the people that I was, connected with on social media because they're so stinking negative all the time. And, just seeing that all the time. There was a particular guy that I used to hang out with a good bit, and he has a problem for every solution. He's one of those guys. And so I really started, I like the guy and everything, but it was difficult to be around him. So I really started to scale back my time with him because of that environment thing going on.
We all have people like that in our lives.
Yeah, unfortunately. Guys, we're going to hit a break here. We'll come back talking with Chris Livezey, and we're going to talk more about the shortcut to magnificence.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. So, Chris, I feel like I blabbed my head off there at the end of the segment. I'm sure you had some color you wanted to add, but excuse me, I was trying to give my excuse me, I was trying to give my perspective on that because I feel again, and previously I thought, that's kind of whatever. You kind of make your own mind up, but I really found that not only seeing extraneous to me, and then I started examining it in my own life, and I'm like, holy crap, this is really, really important.
Well, and it's the concepts that seem so simple that are really what's shaping our future. So our top 5 people that we associate with, like we're earning the same amount of money as them. If you hang out with 5 broke people, you're going to be the 6th, just like you were saying. And that's really how I look at it, is like, I have self-evidence of what I was able to do by transforming my life. I didn't have any formal education. I didn't have any financial backing getting started in real estate. But by understanding how our mind works, I positioned myself around people that were already successful, doing what it is that I wanted to do. And little by little, I just followed their footprints. And then I started accumulating wealth in real estate and more properties, all because I understood the environmental heredity is so important. And a lot of things in personal development seem so simple and basic, but once you understand the mind, that's the information that's going into our mind. The more you turn on your late night news, it's nothing but negativity. And then you tie your emotions to the negative information that's being taught to you. And then you walk around all day thinking the world's ending and, everybody hates each other, all because of a segment that you saw on a late night show. Same concept. If you're hanging around negative people, you're going to be negative. So it's really important to understand the people that you associate with and the information going into your head is creating your paradigm, your belief system, and that's what's controlling your current results in life.
Yeah, I love that. And so, some of the people, when I was going through that, sort of making some of those changes, some of the people that I started to follow on social media were the whole thing they were talking about is exactly what you're talking about, Chris, is get around people who have achieved already what you want to achieve, right? Because, so I'm guessing that you probably got into real estate because you probably started hanging out with some people and they're like, hey man, this is some good stuff. You should check this out. Is that how that all kind of came to fruition for you?
Well, what opened my mind up to real estate, I'm thinking I was still in high school. I was a sophomore. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Teachers tell me in order to be successful, I got to go to school, work really hard, go to college, and then I can be successful. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's exactly what you did. You're a teacher driving a Hyundai to teach me. And I'm learning books about real estate and investing and entrepreneurship. These guys have GEDs and they're making $500,000, $5 million. I'm thinking something's off here. And I wanted to figure out what that was.
Yeah. And, I guess, to not make it sound so negative from what I was saying earlier, thinking about our conversation here, the opposite can be true, right? So as you start hanging around with people that are millionaires, decamillionaires, whatever they might be, it's not necessarily you have to keep up with the Joneses. I don't mean that at all, but I think it just changes everything because just like the negative example that I was talking about earlier of you're hanging out with people and let's say they're heavy drinkers. And so you start to drink and you start to go out and hang out and do that more often. By the same token, if you're hanging out with people who are just ambitious and kicking butt and taking names, it creates the opposite type of positive, I'll call it pressure. You're like, man, Bob over here is killing it. Like, I got to step my game up. Like, Bob, I'm smarter than Bob. Or I'm just as smart as Bob. Like, I can do this too. And so I think that a lot of that stuff starts to really formulate in your mind, like you're talking about. It's such a powerful thing that I think we underestimate the power.
Well, and it's important you said that because, see, I was so young. Like a lot of my friends, when I started seeing success, were still in college or just graduating. So they still wanted to go to bars and stuff on the weekends and go out and party. I started hanging out with business and real estate people that rather than go to the bars, they were going to networking events. So I started going to networking events, just building out my network and also conditioning my mind with the information that aligned with the dream rather than just chasing girls at a bar in my early 20s.
Right. Which probably 90% of gentlemen do. So you were ahead of the game already. Let's dig into one of your principles you talk about in the book. Again, Chris's book, The Shortcut to Magnificence. So thoughts and feelings. I know it's one of your principles. So how does someone reprogram sort of their underlying thought patterns so their business decisions become more aligned with success rather than self-sabotage, like the kind of things we're talking about here?
Yeah, so and that's the tough thing because what we first have to figure out is what it is exactly that you want. And I say most people don't really take the time to sit down and write down what it is they want. So if you're in business, write down how much revenue would you like? How many customers would you like? And start conditioning your mind, not just with the thoughts, but with the emotion of actually seeing that come to fruition rather than just, some type of passing thought. The more you understand how powerful the mind is and your subconscious mind, the more you're going to realize that you can program your mind to create the life you want. I think it was Einstein who said, everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy. This is science. So I say your thoughts and emotions it's based on the thoughts that you dominantly think, that you tie an emotion to, that's putting you in the state of vibration that you're sending out frequencies into the universe. So you want to know what it is that you want and constantly think about the emotion of already obtaining what it is you want. Pretend that it's already real in your life on a daily, consistent basis, and that's what's going to make it manifest into your world 10 times faster.
Yeah, and I like, and it's another cliche, kind of saying or whatever that I've heard, but it's so true. And I'm probably going to butcher it, but kind of paraphrasing, it's be such a positive person that negative people don't want to be around you. And it sounds a little bit negative, but it's like you're going to drive those people away. And it doesn't mean you're like over the top, highly caffeinated, bouncing off the walls. Like, it doesn't mean that at all. It's just the general outlook. You don't even have to have, energy is important, of course, but I just mean in your communication style. You don't have to be talking 100 miles a minute. You don't have to be everything's roses. But, the guy I was mentioning that I cut back time with, I remember one time I came into the gym. We used to train together. I came into the gym and it had been raining for several days. And that day it was sunny. I came into the gym. I go, man, how about this weather? And he said, well, it's going to rain in 2 hours. I'm like, dude, it's been raining for 3 days. Let's soak in the sunshine. Like, this is freaking fantastic. He's like, well, it's going to rain again. Like, we got 2 hours. By the time we get out of the gym, it's going to be raining. And I'm like, that was literally that comment on my drive home from the gym that night. I'm like, I got to stop hanging out with this guy. Like because when I was with him, Chris, he was like at a -10. And so I felt like I had to be at a +10 just to get us back to zero. He would
like somebody that always sees the glass half empty rather than half full.
Yeah, well, he saw it like 4/5 empty. Like, I mean, he was always extremely negative, and so it became mentally draining for me to be around him because I felt like I had to kind of make up for his, negativity and be positive. And if I was with him for 2, 3, 4 hours, I'm leaving. I'm like, holy crap! Like, I feel like I just ran a marathon. Like, you
got to go watch The Secret all over again just to get your mind back.
Yeah. But again, I just mention all that because I'm sure people who are watching or listening, you probably have one or maybe even multiple people in your life that are like that. Don't be afraid. And I'm not saying you got to be rude and say, I don't want to be around you anymore. I didn't do that. I just kind of started to limit my time with him a little bit more. And some of the things that we had in common, kind of went in a different direction in that regard. But guys, we're going to hit another break here. We're going to come back. We're going to continue talking about the shortcut to magnificence with Chris Livezey. We got a lot of things to talk about, so don't miss the last segment.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. I feel like I have to be the person I just mentioned that you don't have to be, and I feel like I got to be, for those of you who are old enough to remember the old FedEx commercial when the guy talked like, 100 words per every 10 seconds or whatever, because I got so much stuff I want to talk to Chris about in this last segment. But one of the things I want to touch on, you mentioned Bob Proctor earlier, you mentioned Zig Ziglar's book. I know you've been mentored by some heavyweights in the space here, the Bob Proctors, Les Browns, the Jack Canfields. Everyone's heard of those names. This might be a loaded question, Chris, but how did those relationships sort of shape your approach to the subconscious in its role in your life as well in business?
I mean, the biggest thing is being around powerhouses like that. You're constantly getting their information embedded into your head. So, and I would have a rule like here's one of my rules. It's the 8 to 8 rule. In between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., you don't listen to any music whenever you get a chance. If you're driving, I'm always listening to Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Napoleon Hill, or something like that is embedded into my subconscious mind to make me the person that I wanted to become, which was more like a Bob Proctor and Les Brown. And what really shaped me is back in 2011, Bob Proctor gave me an affirmation that I still carry on a little card that I put in my book that is, Bob, I'm not only going to meet your achievements, but I'm going to see you at the post and pass you at the grandstand, which was the same affirmation that Andrew Carnegie had given to Napoleon Hill back in the early 1900s. But I had this plan that I wanted to revolutionize the personal development industry. I felt like I was a young guy learning this information, and it wasn't being taught to any of my friends. It wasn't being taught in our school system or even out in society. So these were the guys that became really my leading role models and almost father-like figures to me, because I would just watch them all day and every day. They're the ones I owe all my credit to. I wouldn't know what I know if it wasn't for those guys.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love the rule. I don't have an official rule, but my friends, including family, make fun of me, Chris, because I have the same thing. So if I'm going on a road trip and I'm going to be in the car, I will literally look up, like in my audiobooks. Okay, so I make a quarterly trip to Pittsburgh, and where I go, it's about 3.5 hour drive. So I will look and say, okay, over the weekend, I've got 7 hours in the car, 3.5 there, 3.5 back. What books do I want to make sure I focus on during my 7 hours in the car? And I look forward to it. I'm jazzed because I plan them out ahead of time. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to listen to this one, and I'm have time to catch up, 2/3 of the next one or whatever. And people make fun of me. They're like, what are you talking about? And I love music, by the way. But yeah. I especially in the car, I want to be educated. And, I read a lot of books, read or listen to a lot of books. None of it's fiction. And again, this is, kind of an informal rule I have. Like, if I want fiction, I'm going to watch a movie. I don't want to read a fiction book, right? If I'm reading, I want to be educated. I want to be learning something new. And, if fiction, I can watch a movie for that.
And let me tell you something very important that you said. Even when you got The Secret and you watched it a couple times, and then you went out and bought the audio book of the Zig Ziglar book. See, what you're actually doing now is you might only be able to read once or twice, but certainly not when you're driving. But as you're listening to those audios over and over again, that it's the repetition of a new belief, a new idea. That is how you reprogram your subconscious mind. So by listening to the same audiobook over and over again, what you're really doing is programming your mind. Kind of like when you go to the gym and you're working out to, gain muscle strength. Okay, that's what you're doing when you're listening to an audiobook over and over again. What sounds crazy to other people, saying, why are you doing this? Like, this seems boring, or you already listened to this once. Why would you listen to it 100 times? It's the 100th time that gets embedded into your subconscious mind, where you actually become the words that you're hearing in that audiobook. It's the most important part to programming your subconscious mind, is the repetition of a new belief.
I'm glad to hear that, because again, I've got probably 7 or 8 books that I listen to at least once a year, if not more. I've got one book there for a while that I was so into that I'm like, I made a commitment to myself that I would listen to it at least once a month for the whole year, because I wanted, same thing. I wanted to hear these things over and over and over again, and really, like I know it like the back of my hand by the end of the year, obviously. And I would get to the last week of the month and be like, crap, I haven't listened to it yet. Like, okay, what drive time do I have coming up? Like, so I can kind of multitask with it.
It's awesome. We have a similar technique there when we're driving.
Yeah. So I know habit formation, obviously important, subconscious patterns that kind of go hand in hand, I think a lot of times, at least from my perspective. What daily practices would you recommend for business leaders who want to shift sort of their subconscious programming, but maybe they're constrained by time, energy, resources? I mean, we kind of talked about one just now, right? Kind of, listening to books and things like that. But are other things that they could do, Chris?
I mean, I would say that's the biggest important lesson to learn in really reprogramming, is the repetition of a new belief. Get rid of, like time management. There's no such thing as time management. Time can't be managed. Everybody gets the same amount of time. The only thing you can do is manage your productivity within that time. So think about, what time are you allowing yourself to live the life that you want by repeating an affirmation to yourself. You have to make time for that. Energy, we don't get energy, we release energy. So the more passionate you are about a particular thing, the more energy you're going to have for it. I even go to the gym every day, and people are always asking me, where do you get the energy to do a 2-hour workout every day? I'm like, no, you got it all wrong. I don't get energy to go to the gym. I actually have the energy because of going to the gym. I'm the one releasing the energy.
Yeah. I love that. So what are some common misconceptions you see among people who, you talk with on a regular basis of, the mindset work or subconscious work, things like that? Like I mentioned to you, 10 plus years ago, to me, some of the stuff I hear, I'm like, oh, geez, this is kind of like crazy, craziness. Like, people see a short clip of Tony Robbins and they're like, yeah, that guy's crazy. Like, he's just way too much, And so I think sometimes it could get a bad rap, and people start to think like, this doesn't really work. What are some of those things that you've seen, Chris?
Well, because a lot of people think, like, in the personal development space, it's a lot of like wishful thinking. They look at, they watch the movie The Secret, and it's, if I just think of something over and over again, I'm going to create $1 million. If I think about $1 million, I'm going to wake up and there's $1 million under my bed. But really, you have to understand the neuroscience to it, and understand that what you're doing is you're programming the subconscious section of the mind. So what you want to, and a lot of people say, well, I don't have to write down my goals and repeat it every day. That's probably the most common. I've been doing this for 25 years. I still carry a goal card. My mentor said, if you really want something in life, you have to write it down on a goal card, carry it with you at all times, read it throughout the day. But when you read it, after you read it, close your eyes and envision what that life's going to look like. Really feel it. Like, become like an actor. Act as if you're already the person in that reality of having what it is that you want. And if you can understand that, you can create anything you want in life.
Yeah, I love it. And we're running out of time here, but real quick, I saw a thing that was actually Tony Robbins talking with someone, and he said, look around the room and look for everything you see that is green. And so he gives him like 10 seconds. He looks around, he closes his eyes, and he says, okay, now tell me everything you saw that was red. Don't open your eyes. And the guy just starts smiling, and he's like, he names like, 2 or 3, 4 things. And he said, okay, now open your eyes and look around the room and see all the things that are red. And he's like, there were, 30 things in the room that were red, but he had completely missed them because he was looking for green things. And so to your point, program that subconscious to look for the green or the red or whatever it is you're seeking to achieve. Super important. And if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see them. You're going to miss all these cues. When you play the game, when you're like, hey, oh, we used to, when I was a kid, we played Punch Bug, right? If you saw a Volkswagen,
Oh, sure.
and you're like, I never knew there's so many Volkswagens. That's because you're not looking for them. You're playing the game, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, they're everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
And look, if I could just tell you in the audience, like, this isn't some wishful thinking type thing. I'm a high school dropout. I was a troubled teen. I had everything against me. But once I understood I could program my mind, that's how I was able to achieve the success in any area that I put my mind to. That's the most important.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Again, talking with Chris Livezey this week. His book, The Shortcut to Magnificence. Make sure you go check that out wherever you can find it, wherever you find books, etc. Chris, we're out of time here, but I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Ken, it was great talking with you. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100+ streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.